Welcome back to OllieGolf.com. I'm your host, David Egono. Today I am here with Jonathan Hodge, two-time Southern Conference Player of the Year at University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. And he has an interesting story that I wanted to definitely share with you guys. Jonathan, how are you doing today?
Doing great, David.
So before we jump into the actual, your story, what are some of your favorite courses that you've played on the last year or so?
Man, last year. Well, one of the courses I haven't played in a little while, but we got to play in college pretty often, is a course right in Chattanooga, Tennessee, the Honors Course. It's a really special place. Really, really difficult. So it can be not fun at times, but it's a great, awesome golf course. But last year, I played a couple of TPC courses. One that was just outside of D.C. In Maryland. I think it was called TPC Potomac, and it was a really great course. Just a great atmosphere in a great area and awesome layout. It was in perfect shape too. The condition was amazing.
That's awesome. So let's start off. How did you get into golf?
My family's kind of into golf. My dad, he runs a golf course, kind of the head pro / general manager of a little public course here in East Tennessee, and so he and my mom also plays, and so I just kind of hung out at the golf course growing up. I was there every day pretty much from the time I was like 8 years old. I just loved it and just loved playing. So it's been a long time and I've been playing.
Now you had siblings, right? Were they pretty much the same way?
Not really, not quite like me. My brother played quite a bit, but he was never as competitive as I was. He just liked to have fun playing. And my sister is kind of the black sheep. She really didn't like it at all. So she was more into track and basketball. So she rarely played golf.
Interesting. So obviously you had a decent, if not awesome, junior career, junior amateur career. Tell us about that.
I felt like I had a pretty successful career. When I started playing tournaments when I was 9, and just little one-day events throughout East Tennessee, and if you did well enough, you got to go to a final event that included juniors from across the state. So that was a really big deal that I got to do a couple of times. And, like I said, I just played all the time when I was little, and I started that when I was 9. And I started out, and I won the first, couple of one-day events that I played, and I just fell in love with it. I was like, man, this is something I'm pretty good at, and I enjoy. So I just kind of ran with it. I just loved competing and practicing and everything about it. So I just, went at it with everything I had, and just totally engulfed the whole winning and enjoying to play well.
So this is sort of a loaded question, but, as you're coming up through the ranks and through high school, through juniors, and you're playing well, you're winning tournaments, were you looking ahead at all as far as playing in college or playing on tour, at any tour at some point, or was it just, you were just young, it was awesome, it was, it was it?
Yeah. I sort of had in the back of my mind, that I wanted to play college, and I loved watching the golf on TV, and I guess I sort of thought about, man, I would love to do that, but I don't know if it ever really crossed my mind that I was good enough to do that. At the time, definitely not, but I just think it was more of, I just loved playing, and I just loved, kind of competing in the moment and looking forward to the next day, the next tournament kind of thing. So, while it was something I sort of had the goal for, I don't think it was the whole reason that I played.
Hmm. So you're winning tournaments, you're having fun. Were you getting recruited at all? I mean, what was that process like?
Not really at all, hardly. I was recruited by just a couple of schools in the state, like UTC and a couple others about the same size who didn't have really stellar golf programs at the time, and I was kind of the type of golfer who didn't necessarily have the best swing, the best technique, I guess, with anything in my game, but I just enjoyed playing, and I guess I'm not going to say it was a fault, because I kind of just did it my way, and never had a serious instructor when I was little, and that's okay for any kid out there, but I kind of did it my way, and it wasn't that attractive to big-time college programs, I guess, and excuse me. So, maybe it was partly my resume. I had a fairly strong resume as a junior, but I guess sort of in my mind, I thought I was. At the time I was being recruited, I thought I could have been good enough to play at a bigger school, but at the same time, I wasn't really disappointed at all with my decision to go to UTC. I loved the opportunity and was totally grateful for it.
So how did you choose UTC?
It really came down to a couple of schools, really just two. UTC was one of them, and a couple of reasons. One was they had just phenomenal golf courses in town that we had access to, and I thought, man, that was awesome. That if I continue to get better, that these golf courses would really be a benefit to me, and if I ever decided to try to go to the next level after college. So that was one big reason, and the other reason was I knew a guy who was the same class as me who had committed to UTC, and we were pretty good friends, and I just thought it would be really cool to know him, and so we kind of had that relationship, and so that was another big factor.
So tell, I feel like you, to date in your story, I'm the same way when it came. I played football coming up, and I just loved it. If you're not as good as everybody that they talk about or that's recruited or what. But at the same time, it doesn't mean anything. You still will take any opportunity you can get. So up to date in your story, it just seems like, dare I say, the path of least resistance, in a sense of like you're just looking for the next shot to play. You choose UTC. You have a childhood friend, another classmate who is going there. Tell us about the adjustment process. I mentioned at the top that you became a 2-time conference player of the year. I'm guessing that wasn't your freshman year, right? Tell us about the transformation and the adaptation of the next level.
Yeah. It was definitely, as far as college goes, just the college life was a huge shock to my system. Being from a really small town and near Knoxville, Tennessee, about 30 miles from Knoxville, I had not really been anywhere. And then, you get thrown in with sort of the guys in an apartment that you don't really know. that well, and it's just a huge culture shock, I guess. But as far as the golf goes, like I said kind of earlier, the golf team wasn't very highly ranked at the time I was there, and so the guys who were coming in were pretty good players, and they had a really great chance of being able to start as freshmen. And so I took that as kind of a really exciting challenge, and I just worked really hard. I really pride myself on my work ethic, and I just, that's another thing. I enjoy just practicing. I enjoy getting there and spending a lot of time out there. It's just fun for me. It's not nearly the work that I guess the definition of work, but so that was it. I was really excited by the possibility of playing as a freshman right away, and so I just took that and worked really, really hard. And I feel like the whole team, not that it was me who influenced, but we really worked hard when we got there, and that really took our team down to the next level. Not immediately, but within the next year or two, and it was just that was really kind of what I attributed to, was the opportunity that we had and our work, for sure.
So, it's safe to say you had a somewhat of I wouldn't say a culture shock, but just a new, very big challenge. Did you have a teammate that you leaned on? Was it the coaches? Was it an assistant coach? Was it your parents? Your dad's a PGA pro. Who did you try to lean on or ask for guidance or anything? Or did you just figure it out on your own?
I figured some of it out on my own, because, partly the reason I figured it out on my own is because, one, I spent so much time on the golf course growing up, and even to this day, but so I just had a lot of time out there, probably more than the average golfer, but my dad is an extremely hard worker. He always didn't necessarily push me in a specific direction, but he always expected me to work hard at whatever it was. And so I was always, like I said, I started playing when I was 8 a lot. So I don't really have another example of where I just worked super hard, because golf is the hardest thing I've ever worked at. But it was definitely my mom and dad. My mom is a very hard worker too, but my dad is the hardest working man I've ever known. And so I guess being his son, it either comes naturally, or if you want to impress your dad, you got to go work hard too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally understand that.
Yeah.
So now let's start to talk about the successes. Your freshman year, I'm guessing it was your freshman year, you're figuring it out, had some lumps, definitely had some shining moments. But let's talk about right when you started to hit your stride and you started to dominate a little bit and be the conference's best player. When did you start to feel like, I get it, and I know how to position myself as the dominant player?
Right. Well, it was definitely sometime during that freshman year, because, coupled with the hard work and the opportunity, I think we started, 2 or 3 freshmen that my first year. And but as far as me personally, I was a little unsure, I guess, going in, as probably any freshman would be, but I just had some doubts. I was, the doubts of, man, can I really do this? I'm in college now. This isn't high school where you could just kind of show up and play great and win, This is college now. There's 10 times more guys and, guys that are 4 years older than you and stuff. So I had those doubts, and I kind of just sat down and just kind of figured out a plan to how to practice and what to expect of myself that would, that would provide the opportunity to have good results. It wasn't guaranteed, but it would present the best opportunity. And they were very simple. A lot of times golf is way overcomplicated, and it's very difficult, but I think the more simple you can keep it, the easier it's going to be on your game. So that being said, I just had a good formula. I had a good plan, and I really stuck to it. And I think that was the main thing.
Now, you mentioned previously that you're a hard worker. You just mentioned that you kind of figured out a plan, and that it was pretty simple. Was this plan like public knowledge, or is this something that you just either wrote down or decided upon that you were going to do? Because let's be honest, you're planning to separate yourself from the rest of the pack. And this is where the conversation sometimes gets a little hairy for people who don't compete in sports, or they don't understand what it's like to compete in sports. When you compete in sports, any sport, but especially an individual sport like golf, there's the field. And let's be honest, you don't want to be a part of the field past, the beginning of the tournament or beginning of the race, beginning of the game. You want to separate yourself. But, ironically, by trying to separate yourself by being better, sometimes you catch a little flack, whether it's from teammates or fans or parents or what have you. It doesn't matter. So how did you – what was it like as you began to separate yourself? I'm sure that your teammates and your coaching, your coaches were not necessarily discouraging you in that regard, but they were like, oh, great. Jonathan's taking off, But what was it like being going from the hunted to the hunter in a sense?
Yeah. There is I guess there's a peak there somewhere where you are looked at differently. I guess there's a moment when you're looked at differently, but with my team, I really didn't ever feel that. I felt like if you were honest and open with what you were trying to do and you were a team player, golf is a very individual sport, but the team aspect was really great for me to put my interests aside and almost feel like I'm putting my effort toward our team instead of my individual performance, my individual goals and that kind of thing. So I just feel like our off-the-course, when it comes to the team and the coaches, our off-the-course relationship was so great that I personally didn't feel any that anyone looked at me differently when it came to if I was finishing first out of the 5 on our team or not, which wasn't always the case because I was very consistent in college, but it wasn't every tournament we played that I was beating the other 4 guys on our team. So, it wasn't like that per se, but I just felt like we had a common goal, and it wasn't too competitive within our team ranks for that.
Now, what in conference play? What was that like? Just going to different tournaments and just being the guy. I think, and this is why one of the reasons why I was kind of excited to talk to you, because you're one of the first guys that I talked to that was the guy in his conference. While he played, what was that like as far as other teams, other players, other coaches, maybe even the media to whatever extent, in coverage? What was that like? Did you feel that pressure?
Early on I didn't. I don't know if it was just because I was young, but I won the Player of the Year my sophomore and junior year. And my sophomore year, I didn't really keep up with it that well as far as who was the best player in the conference. I knew I had a really good chance going to the last event, the conference championship. But I was more concerned with playing well for the team, like I mentioned a second ago, because UTC hadn't won the tournament in like 20-something years or something like that. So it was a way bigger deal for us to win as a team than it was for an individual accolade. But the following year, my junior year, was completely different. I had won it the year before, and I was having an even better season that year than the previous, and it was really a battle to not let thinking about that consume me, and I just excuse me, I handled it fairly well in my own opinion that year, and was able to have healthy goals, and my goals kind of went up a little that year, and I wanted to not just play well on the conference level, but even on the national level. I wanted to continue to get better and improve my overall ranking on the national level, and so that really helped me that year to kind of make the conference accolades a byproduct, I guess. And then my senior year, it really I learned a lot about myself my senior year, because being my 4th year, I really put too much pressure on myself to do well, and it really hurt my game. And for the first time, I didn't get an all-conference award. I wasn't even considered for the Player of the Year, which was really disappointing. So I had a very kind of a roller coaster ride when it comes to the awards and conference play and everything about golf, pretty much. It was kind of up and down.
Now, you said that you put too much pressure on yourself and it hurt your game, and you don't have to go into every single way that happened. But what's the one key thing that you just knew, like you were just maybe trying too hard?
Right. Well, I guess what made my junior year, my 3rd year, so special was that we just had so much fun as a team, and we lost a couple of players from that team. We had new guys come in, which is not a very good excuse at all. I'm not making that excuse for myself.
No worries.
But what's that?
I said no worries. I understand.
Yeah. But that, and maybe I just had such a successful year my third year that to improve on that meant, I was going to be considered probably I would have needed to be one of the top 5 players in the country, and that was a realistic goal, but I guess I thought about it too much, and I needed to think about my day-to-day, my week-to-week, instead of what's going to happen in 6 months. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think what you just said is it's like one of the curses of man. I mean, we figure out, how good we can be months, years, decades down the line, and we forget about, the next putt or the next, the very next thing. So that, that makes complete sense. Makes complete sense. So, to put a bow on college, what are some of the things that you took away from your college experience? Because like you said, it was a roller coaster ride. You went from just being the new guy in town, new guy on the team, to being like the guy, the hunter, as I said before, to being I guess back in the pack. Your senior year, not fulfilling some of your expectations. What are some of the things that you took away from that?
Like I said, I learned so much that fourth year about expectations and about, I say non-golf things, but I guess I mean more like, mentality stuff, the way you think, the way you perceive yourself, I guess. Because, I've been out of school for a handful of years now, and it's almost kind of a cycle, I guess. When you're playing poorly, you're disappointed, but it almost, kind of takes the pressure off a little bit. And then, you start to play better, and you play better. You start playing well, and you kind of feel, don't mess this up kind of thought, So it's a very delicate balance, I guess. You really have to know how to think, and as selfish as it sounds, you have to know what you do, and and you can't really concern yourself with anyone else. If I went and played with Tiger Woods tomorrow, or whoever, and he shoots 64, and maybe I shoot 70, well, technically I lost, but you played pretty well with the best player in the world, so it's kind of hard to explain, but it's all about your mindset and staying very even keeled, not getting too up when it's good, and not getting too down when it's bad.
Yeah, and I would say for any athlete, but especially in golf, it's, your mind, or maybe more so your perspective is a muscle that you have to be so diligent in taking care of every single moment of every single day, because if you can't see not only where you're going, but how you're treating yourself on that journey, you can make damage that's irreparable. For a baseball player, a football player, you could have bouts of a lack of confidence, but you're, for a basketball player, you're 6'9". You can play your position. You'll be okay. You may not be great for a season or so, but you'll be okay. Golf, everything that you do comes out of how you see the opportunity, and that's the hard. That is just that's a whole different animal. whole different animal. So, I think that's an awesome way of encapsulating just, the challenge. So, I mean, what are you doing now? You're still golfing now, right?
I'm still playing currently. What you just said about, physical and mental, it just made me kind of think about golf and how I'm 27 now. I feel like I'm getting old. I'm not really, but, golf is so unique that the pros on the PGA Tour are so much older in age, on average, I guess, than, football players or soccer players or whatever, So that kind of tells you that it is such a difficult and learned skill to figure out how to think properly. It's almost like you have to think like a little kid and not be distracted or not care as much. So it's really intriguing when you think about it like that, because there are plenty of 20 and 22-year-olds who are that good, but they lack, and I include myself in that category. It's something that it's the most important thing now, to figure out how to handle your game and handle your thoughts.
You're still golfing now. You're on.
I got off with that.
Yeah. So how do you do that? How do you, with what you just said and your continuing career, how are you trying to be, dare I say, more childlike and not care as much and just focus on your game?
Yeah. It's extremely difficult, but a lot of the things that I kind of mentioned earlier about beginning with college, about developing my plan and developing my practice habits that will give me the opportunity to play well. I'm trying to implement those. I'm still trying to do those a little better. They may not be exactly the same as they were, but anytime you can take the pressure off of yourself and just get out of your way mentally and just play, allow your physical golf swing to flow and just play golf. That's the key. And as far as how to do that, it's very different. It's different for everyone. But for me, it's all about the process. It's so natural to want results right now, and I badly want those results right now, just like everyone else. But for me, I have to focus on my day-to-day. Did I get my practice in today? Did I achieve my practice goals today? Did I work out enough days this week? Am I eating right and everything like that? So I try to keep my goals as less result oriented as possible. And I think that helps me because I want those results more than anything. But the more I think about them, the more that I get in my own way. If that makes sense.
Oh, that makes 100% sense. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow. So, I mean, this has been I know a little more in depth as far as the story, but I feel like I know that you said roller coaster, and I was like, let's be honest. Most people think of sports and they don't think of roller coasters when they think of golf. I mean, unless it's like, Sunday and it's back and forth. They don't think of a roller coaster career. You know, they think more so along of an event or a last hole or whatever. And just listening to your story, I can just sense that, like, man, like, you know, you said you're 27, but you're feeling old. And,
yeah.
I mean, for those of us that are older than 27, you're like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, but I know what you're talking about as far as a competitor, because I feel like as a competitor, you know, like after college, after, you know, dare I say the academic portion, you start to see who you really aren't and where you need to get to. You can hide a lot of your weaknesses in college. And that's not to say that college is a bad thing or college is weaker or anything like that. It's just more so to say that as you get older and as you see more of who you need to become and how you need to think, you start to see, like, wow, like, I never had to do that in college. In college, it was just show up, you know, maybe eat pregame meal or whatever, and just, you know, have fun. You know, when you become a pro, when you're playing for yourself, for your family, for your career, and it's not attached to a scholarship, it's a completely different perspective, and it's hard. It's hard. Yeah. So what are some of your goals? I mean, go ahead. And, I want to get your thoughts on that. But what are some of your goals in the next year or two, or at least this stretch of your career?
Yeah. Well, to kind of follow up on your previous question about the age thing, you know, if you just look at it as wins and losses, you know, that was when we started our conversation, I kind of mentioned that from day one, you know, I won those little junior events I was playing, and it really fueled me. And if you hang your hat on the wins or the losses, nowadays, it'll beat you down faster than anything. Because how often do you win in golf, you know?
That's crazy. That's a great point.
Yeah, Tiger wins more than anyone. And it's like, you know, 10 to 15% or something like that. So, you know, you really have to let go of that. It's while you want to have the drive, it's kind of a paradox. You want to have the drive and the desire to win, but if and when you don't, it can't define you. You know, can't define your success. So going on though, some goals this year are, you know, at the beginning of every year, I try to write down some really important goals. Here in Tennessee, I don't live in Florida, so there's always days and maybe even weeks at a time when I have to just put my clubs up. I can't practice, you know, so I really have to evaluate my game and think about a lot of like mental goals and practice goals that for when my season does start. And you know, I mean, a couple of examples currently that I'm trying to do are, you know, I have some putting drills that I try to do almost every day, and you know, some wedge practice and the short game stuff. But you know, I think just sitting down and kind of figure it out and having pretty smart, pretty healthy goals is a huge step. So that's just kind of my everyday stuff. But like I said, I don't have very many results goals. But one of my results goals is at the end of the year, I want to successfully make it to the finals of the web.com tour qualifying, which if I made it to that, it would assure me a step up, I guess, kind of from AA to AAA in the baseball analogy. And, you know, I really just want to, I kind of hit on it a little bit, but really fuel my competitiveness it's difficult to get knocked down time after time.
Yep.
And after that, you kind of start thinking, man, why am I beating my head against the wall, and I'm getting nothing out of it. But so it can almost take away a little competitiveness in you. And that's happened to me a little bit in the past. And so my goal kind of is to, as I said, it's kind of a paradox to have the goal to win, to have the desire to win, but don't hang your hat on it,
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day. So just a couple of examples.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I'll say really quickly, I mean, I never thought of it this way, and I just want to thank you for even enlightening me on it. I mean, golf, the best guys don't win a lot. What other sport, what other competition of anything, whether it's a sport or not, do the best people not win a lot? Even in baseball, a very good hitter bats let's just say 300, 30%. In baseball, the best guys are, like you said, they're losing 90% of the time. If we're talking about, winning or losing, they're losing 90% of the time. I mean, if you can wrap your mind around that and how I think you saying a paradox is like the understatement of this conversation.
Yeah.
It's like you have to push yourself to win, but winning is only the beginning of actually winning, and I'm not trying to sound like Yogi Bear or anything like that, but I mean, it's a completely different mental game than anything else,
Yep.
Well, Jonathan, I mean, I feel like I ask you more and more questions, and maybe I will, at a later time, a later interview, later in the year. But man, I just want to thank you for just coming on and being honest. There's nothing better than talking with somebody who's had success, but at the same time knows why some of the things didn't go as planned and is open about it. That's huge. I just want to thank you for coming on the show and sharing your career, your story with us.
Anytime. It's my pleasure. I got a lot out of it too. Just talking about it helps a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a psychologist or I don't plan for an interview to ever be like cathartic in a way, but yeah, I mean, your mind is the muscle that our minds are the muscles that I think the more that we focus on it, not to be, a woo-woo guy or anything like that, but, we got to give ourselves a chance to completely push through our ceilings, and it's awesome to hear your story and to hear some of your mental growth in that regard.
Well, great. I appreciate the time, and anytime, call back anytime, and I'll give you a little update. See how we're doing.
No doubt. I'll hold you to that. Well, Jonathan, thank you for being a part of the show, and thank you for everybody else for being a part of it as well.
Anytime, David. No problem.